Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. Can you see me, Kitty, or no? I don't see me. We are live. However, I love this. Kitty, you're muted, by the way. Oh, there you
There
go.
you are.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's because we're not on YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not sure to why it's not. I mean, the only other thing I can think of is that we just record it from here and then I upload it.
okay. We could do that.
Yeah. Mm-mm. All right. So, recording. Well, hello, 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 and happy Wednesday, everybody. This is once again, another episode with Kitty and I that does not go exactly the direction we're looking for it to go, and that's all based on my technology. All different forms of technology that I have between my laptop, my phone. Anyway, I guess that's with the energy we have going on. So, for those of you who will be seeing this, it is July 2nd. It's Wednesday. Wednesdays are ruled by Mercury's energy, and there is a lot of this Mercury energy that's going to be going on for the next couple of weeks. For those of you who don't know who I am, Reverend Joanne Angel Barry Cologne. I'm the founder of Holistic Fitness and Why. I'm your certified holistic personal trainer, holistic integrative teacher, Reiki master, medical astrologer, master of numerology, card creator, card reader, and under this pile of stuff here, I have my magazine, The Founder of Holistic Healing. And I'm super excited to be with you. I serve, help, and hold space for women in midlife, helping them to release emotional weight so they can have the confidence to walk away from their job to step into their soul's calling. So now that you know a little bit about me, let's learn a little bit about Kitty.
Hi, I'm Kitty Budewig Foss, reader of the stars, storytelling astrologist, at the moment, holder of the quiet. I work with people to become how to be a hero of their own story by telling them what their story is and looking at their astrological mapping.
There we go. I have such a huge bio, and Kitty has a nice brief one. So, Kitty, today's energy, what we're going to be talking about, experience vision. So, let's give us like a short introduction to what today's topic is going to be about.
Well, do you remember the movie Song of the South?
Actually, I do not.
It started with zippity doo dah, zippity day.
Oh, okay, but I do know that song.
Well, that's kind of where we are. My, oh my, what a wonderful energy we're in. And it doesn't mean when we say wonderful, it doesn't mean this is about unicorns and rainbows and all of those things. We are in an evolution revolution. The battle as we sit here at 29 degrees of Uranus work Uranus, who is the ruler of Aquarius, where Pluto is in Aquarius, changing things. And we got Mercury, who is our placement of communication and experience. And basically, Uranus is the grandparent of technology and upper communication. So, a lot of stuff coming through. And I think that's why that song comes by, because it's like zip, 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 zip. Okay. Recently, I heard something wonderful. Remember, you are the sky. And the sky sits and observes while the clouds come in and the storms come across, but you're always the sky. Kind of the energy that we are looking at. We're in a very long void of course at the moment. Second one in less than 11 days. Hear that number?
Yeah.
And um, these long void of course really stop us from doing much of anything and really ask us to be introspective, very much so, asking us
Mhm.
to kind of make sure alignment is our key. That's where we are to begin with alignment, action, and this authentic growth that we're trying to tap into. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and then just a little bit about the numbers because Kitty did mention some numbers. To start off with, I like to say the next 18 days, theoretically of July, um, we have all this movement going on, starting from July 4th. So when we think about the number July, when we think about the number 7-4, we bring ourselves again right back into our 11 vibration. And then when we think about the 29 degrees that we have Uranus, and I also believe Venus is at 29 degrees,
Right.
or
Today it is, yes, because it will move on the 4th. It
yeah,
changes. Yes.
yeah. So when we think about the 29, before I break that down to add it up, the 2 reminds us of the relationships, professionally and personally, that we are in. And the 9 reminds us of the endings that we may be experiencing
Mhm.
with the relationships that we are in professionally and personally. When I use the word endings regarding relationships professionally and personally, what that may look like for some is exactly what it sounds like, that relationships are going to end. It could also mean that the relationship is going to take a new level. And then it also means that there's going to be a review on what's been going on with the relationships. So when we think about these two numbers correlating with astrology. The 2 is a representation of Taurus energy, which is ruled by Venus, and the 9 is a representation of Sagittarius energy, which, interesting enough, is the opposition of this Gemini energy. So it really is about taking this whole process, adding the 2 and 9 to our 11, which always seems to be interesting. We're always on this journey of mastering the healing that we are going through, because there's always some sort of healing that's actually taking place. Now, when we take the overall energy between what's going on between now through July 18th, all these different planets doing what they're doing, the number 18 itself, the 1 represents there's going to be a new way of how we're going to be doing things with all of these planets doing what they're doing. Because planets are energy, and we are connected to the energy of these planets. Every one of these planets are connected to our astrology chart. And if you are familiar with your astrology chart, you will know where each of these planets are and where they're playing in your houses. And if you're not familiar, this might be a really perfect time to start becoming familiar, so you'll understand the new energy that's going to be coming through going forward. And then when we think about the 8 energy from the 18, the 8 is about bringing things into balance. And I kept hearing the word balance a lot today, just due to where the moon is in Libra. How can we bring things back to balance? Bringing ourselves back into balance, bringing our physical body back into balance. What does balance look like? And where do you need to what do you need to do less of so you can have more balance in something else? And the overall number to that 1-8 brings us to our 9. So it is about, again, we're back into this energy of what do we need to let go of? What do we need to declutter? What do we need to see from a different view? And look at it from a higher frequency, so to speak. So this whole process of transforming in this 9 vibration, seeing things out of 3D energy, because for most of us, we're moving out of the 3D energy and we're moving into the higher frequencies, into the 4, into the 5. And I do believe that with all of what's going on with our planets, over the next 8 years, 14 years, and 20 years, a big majority of us are going to be in that higher frequency where things will look very, very different as
Well,
we move forward.
and we add to this conversation the fact that we're in retrograde season. Neptune will retrograde, Saturn will retrograde, and then Mercury will retrograde. Plus, we have both Saturn, which and Mercury, Neptune, which will dip back in to their former sign for just a little bit in this retrograde. So we're going to be revisiting that old cycle with spirit, that old structure, along with this new placement of Uranus and Gemini, which is all about higher technologies. It's all about what is the vision that it's a representation of things being changed, awakened, therefore a little bit of chaos. So it is to take a look at in these first 18 days of July. It is a busy time. This month is really about exactly what you're talking about. It is this healing, and it's not a but, and it's this healing of getting our act together. So that's why as we titled this is about what is this vision? What are we putting together? We are building the capacity. That's the word. This whole year has been the word acceptance for me, but capacity, acceptance of capacity. What do I create in this new structure? Bring back from my old structure? What is spirit in its evolution about? What is Mercury asking us to pause and take time? There's a real reason we're having these long voids of course, which literally stop us in a pause. What we do. It's to be in touch with exactly who we are in our alignment. So,
Exactly. And just a quick, excuse me, just a quick question when we talk about our Neptune Aries retrograde that starts on July 4th. Now, do you have the date in front of you to how long this retrograde is? Because I don't have that in front of me and I would like to have it in front of me. If you do, and if you don't, no worries.
sure. I have to look it up. And then it's the 4th and the 13th and the 18th are the retrograde days. Also on the 4th is Venus heading into it's interesting. Uranus has really sat with every daily planet at 29 degrees to really, because that's as you know, an energetic degree. There's that
Yeah.
11 again, resetting that karma. So I will take a look if you want to talk about that a little bit. It's a busy time. And then of course we move in. We are in the sun of the moon, so it's about moving forward with our intuition, our feelings, again, building that capacity. And then we move into real time of moving ourselves forward. So
Yes. Yeah. And I know for many, at least the people I speak with have been doing readings with, many are in this, the words that I'm hearing is like they're anxious to want to move forward. And when we have retrogrades, theoretically, it's not about forward motion, it's about reflection. It's about reviewing what's been going on in our lives based on wherever that planet is, based on the zodiac sign. So this is really not a time, at least until all of everything sort of settles, lands, to really start up anything new. So if there is anybody out there who's looking to start up new projects, want to get themselves moving forward, this is not the time to do that right now. And I mean, theoretically, what I'm hearing is really to wait for, and I know some of you are going to be bummed out to hear this date, but really wait for September to really wait on moving into anything new because this energy that we have going on right now for July, like we have the 7-7 portal that's coming in. And interesting enough, on that 7-7 portal is when Uranus moves into Gemini. So it's a big energetic day of what is going to shift for us. And then that 7-7 portal is literally the gateway that's leading us into the 8-8 portal, which is the Lion's Gate, which is another big energy that's coming through, which is why I keep hearing new projects will not start up until September. So for those who are itching to like get things going and want to have new clients or whatever that, we are revving up to get to that place. And I find it interesting. Kitty, go ahead. You want to say something?
Well, with this relationship with Taurus and Venus and Uranus, it is asking us to wrap stuff up and really take a look at and align to wrap stuff up. And so, and whenever you finish something, you usually have started at the beginning, but there's always that piece that you come back. That's exactly where we are. To answer your question, the Neptune retrograde stops on, excuse me, January 26, 2026, a 2626.
Oh, that's going to be another portal. That should be very interesting. I'm going to have to do some research to see what that actually means for all of us.
It dips into back into Pisces on October 22nd. So so after you start these new things that happen again in September, you have an opportunity to go back and finish up those things with spirit and the last cycle with spirit. Get some clarification. Perhaps it's around organized religion. Perhaps it's around beliefs. Perhaps it's around suffering that you thought was suffering is that Piscean consciousness in and we've been coming out of that. So perhaps you'll be finishing up some flow really by October, going back to say nope, I've now kind of encountered this new part of spirit. Let me go back and root out some of those old beliefs.
Yes. And what I believe, and many other healers believe, or psychics or mediums or whatever one's title may be, intuitives believe, and it's so interesting that energetically I keep getting um, that it's not time to start anything new until September. In theory, the new year, every year, not just this year, the new year theoretically starts more in October, which is the 10th month. So it makes a lot of sense that we're getting the okay to go, the green light to go as we move into September. I'm hearing more like after the 9-9 portal, which is another big portal after the Lion's Gate portal, helping us to move into this new way of what it is we're going to be doing as we embrace moving more into flow and having a better understanding of who we are based on that spiritual and mystical and metaphysical gifts that we are unwrapping. Because we're all going to be unwrapping metaphysical gifts over the next couple of months, especially when we think about Neptune and Aries. Forget the retrograde, but just the fact that Neptune is transiting in Aries energy. This is really about the I am statement based on who am I, who are you when it comes to your metaphysical gifts? What metaphysical gifts do you actually have? And perhaps up until now, either A, you've been sort of hiding them, not wanting people to know that you are gifted, or B, maybe you've just not really been playing in your metaphysical gifts because you aren't recognizing that you have gifts. But we all have at least one, if not more. And I've come to learn that as you unwrap one and you practice in that one, many more unwrap as well. That it's like there's like no choice of the matter. I know for me, when I first started in this journey, I saw myself as, yes, I can hear, I can feel, I can see. And more people started saying, well, you speak to spirit. And I'm like, yes, I speak to spirit. So you're a medium. Not a title I usually carry. I don't carry the title as a medium. It's not in my bio. But yes, I do speak to spirit. So it's again, as you unravel through this Neptunian energy in Aries, your I am statement, you may start to realize that there's a metaphysical gift that's going to show up for you. And I know from my own experience over the last couple of months, even, that one of my metaphysical gifts that is really powerful is being an empath and being able to feel the room and feel the energy. Now, I usually turn around and say I'm sensitive, and what I now include with that sentence of being sensitive is I'm not sensitive that if you say something, you're going to hurt my feelings. I'm sensitive that I can feel your feelings. So if you walk into a space that I'm in and you're walking in with energy that may not be of the highest vibration, guess who picks up that energy? Me. And this is one of the newest things that I'm learning about myself that, oh my God, when I'm in large crowds, what do I need to do to protect me? Funny story, and then I'm going to bring Kitty into the conversation. My therapist, who happens to also be very intuitive, I was sharing with him my most recent, I like to call it psychic attacks that I had not too long ago. He says to me, well, when you go to events, because you don't want to not go to events, you don't want to not go to family events. When you do go to these things, you want to make sure that you're sitting by a open door or a door that opens and closes. And I was like, oh, he said, this way here, whatever energy you are picking up, it doesn't just stay by you, it gets to leave. I was so intrigued by that's exactly what I did at the last event that I was at, which by the way had about probably about 50 to 60 people in this space. And other than knowing three of those people where I had actual contact with on a regular basis, I knew no one else. So I really didn't know the energies that I was going into. So sitting by a door that was opening and closing was a big savior because the next day I did not wake up having a psychic attack. And I felt good and excited. So yes, so this is this Neptune Aries that where many are going to be feeling is the metaphysical gifts that may very well show up that some may not be familiar with.
Well, and what's very interesting, this is the embodiment of action and body because we're talking about Saturn also in Aries. They're also conjunct. And so we are embodying these new bodies, these new DNA, these new capacities. And you're talking about um, a new structure for faith. All of us are able to tap into this new structure, new boundaries, new limitations, new expansions of inspiration with faith, uncovering with new ebbs and flows, with a realm that really pretty recently we've been told how to access. And what's been an amazing piece of this waking up is to realize that there has been things presented to us under the guise of spirituality, taking it down to religion. This is the way you must do it. That we're now going, wait a minute, there's as many shifts in this as there is anything else. So here's this new structure for spirit. And it doesn't mean the old guard's going to go, yeah, let's evolve. No, not necessarily.
Yes,
So,
yes. And just as we have excuse me, just as Kitty said, we have Neptune in Aries. We also in going into retrograde. Saturn will also go into retrograde.
so they'll
On
travel still together. They will
yeah.
they will be redoing the end of the other structure, resetting the karma around that, and coming back forward together. Now, Saturn will return to Aries before Pisces does again. So,
Mhm.
but they are spending a lot of time in the similar energy, in the energy of expression and back in the energy of reception and uncovering. So it's like we're getting these new eyes, and then we go back and we revisit what was being reset for us so we understand that. So,
Exactly. So this is definitely what I'm hearing is like a big learning curve. And upon learning curve, learning what your metaphysical gifts are, learning how to bring things more into flow, learning how to adapt into the process of your I am statement, learning how to take what you have mastered as the healer and recognize that you have mastered that. And I often say this all the time. Something I heard when I was at the event I was at through spirit, which something I speak on regarding how I work with women regarding the process of them sharing their story so they can release their emotional weight. And there's a new little piece to that. And that new little piece is in order for them to release the emotional weight, which is the physical weight that shows up on their body, is that they actually have to release the emotion that's connected to the story. So they're
Right.
still holding on to that emotion that's connected to whatever the trauma was. That is one of the reasons why we're not seeing the weight come off the people as they share their story, because they're still emotionally attached to the situation. And that is the big part of the storyline of you've done the healing. Now we have to ask ourselves, why are you choosing to hold on to the emotional component of your story? You don't
Well,
have to.
right, because if you can feel that feeling and not put it in other patterns, because you've added it in, makes perfect sense to me. You're retaining that energy and you end up retaining many people physically. So when I go back and feel the feeling and say, I my feelings and my thoughts are not facts. They're indicators, they're guides. So let me feel it and see where it wants to really guide me and take it out of this pattern I may have stored that information in. So,
Exactly. Because the one thing, again, based on the metaphysical explanations of things, when we talk about the physical weight that one may carry, metaphysically, the word obesity, overweight, over fat, whatever we want to use, it's just a psychological wall that we build, that we bring on, we invite in to protect us from something or someone. However, we now get to that understanding that we are now being protected by our higher power. Once we literally get to that place to release the emotional connection and we recognize that, oh, I am already protected. I don't need the excess weight to protect me from something. But this also goes back, and Kitty and I talk about this a lot, where sometimes a person may hold on to that weight, not necessarily because they're connected to the emotion so much, but sometimes it's about it helps them to be more grounded. It gives them the energy to be slower. It also helps them to take up the space that they want to take up in a room because they haven't quite figured out how to take up space spiritually. And there was a real big difference on when you take up spiritual space to when you take up physical space. So I do believe that we are going to definitely see through these retrogrades and through all the moving into our new direction, we are definitely going to see some big shifts happening for many women where they are going to be releasing the emotional story with the connection of, I don't necessarily need this extra weight to take up space. That I can actually spiritually take up space and know that I'm being supported by my higher power. And your entire spirit team is supporting you on this journey and getting to the understanding to what the wait was for,
right.
you know, and maybe even negotiating and saying, okay, well, rather than using the weight for that, I'm going to use the weight for this now, and moving into that energetic space. Because when we think about Gemini's energy, and of course Mercury going retrograde, Gemini's is the experience of how do we experience what we're doing. And I'm actually going to be talking about this a little bit on Monday in my show in regards to the concept of, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the concept of how so many women talk about menopause and perimenopause, and that the reality of it all is, I don't really believe many women even know what perimenopause and menopause is, because we have been programmed and conditioned to feel and believe what it is based on what we've been told it is.
Well, part of that has been historically is for a long time it was never spoken about. And so
Exactly.
women really whose bodies were naturally changing and having so there was no one that was helping you even adjust to it. And then of course once it got recognized, then we wanted to medicate it and we wanted to get rid of it and it needed to be a problem. And so the energy versus a in many indigenous cultures, it's a transition. It's people work with it. They know these things. It's the body evolving in life. And so Now we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back for an understanding to embrace it as just another part of our journey,
Exactly.
listening to our body. Let me tell you, as a, person who got her hot flashes, I could take something called black cohosh and be really good. That was very helpful for me. Not everybody seems to be able to, but that's what my body needed. It really did a lot of slowing down, a lot of, when you get the power rush, the Kundalini energy that's coming in this transition, it's hot. And I laugh at some of the commercials, but I understood the woman who found the vent and stood under it, you know. Um,
I just find it extremely funny because there's so many women who are working on rushing through this experience. And
right.
just like Kitty said, it is a Kundalini experience. It really does come from the root chakra, and that energy does come up, which is why we get hot. It's an experience of
And it
connecting with who we
opens,
are,
it
the third
opens,
eye.
yeah, the third
Yes.
eye to accept who we are.
Exactly. It's the
And
spiritual wisdom that we take on as we move into this next chapter of life. And the bigger picture of things, and I'm gonna close it off there on the conversation because I don't want to kill off my show on Monday. But the funny part of all of this is when we really talk about menopause, we're not talking about perimenopause, but menopause itself, it's literally one day. Menopause is one day. And women talk about it as being this big, long, drawn out thing. It's one day, one day. And that's because we talk about it being more than what it is because we've been programmed and conditioned to believe that it is really more than what it is. It's one day. And that's all, one day.
well,
And then
I,
you move
I'm actually
to,
glad for the conversations around perimenopause because those are the things that lead up to it. And I would have not liked to live through my mother's generation where they just didn't talk about it, you know. And then it became like how we first dealt with cancer, how we deal with mental health sometimes, the change, the whisper, and that's a modern day evolution because there was a time where once again people knew about it. People didn't live as long either. So part
yeah,
of that became as human beings evolved, we also saw what a body that embraces all of its phases does.
yeah.
So,
My one wish for every woman in their stage, whatever their stage is, whether it's perimenopause, menopause, or even just getting their cycle, is to not be so wrapped up in what other people are experiencing and allow yourself to experience it for yourself
it's your body. Yes, it's talking to you.
and allow yourself to journal through these experiences so you have your own experience of whatever's going on so you can have your own story as opposed to the conditioning that we all have been hearing about this new phase of life.
Right.
So it is really I've been doing a lot of studies, as I prepare for my book to come out, and just trying to get people to become more aware of this next chapter in our life and how I love when specifically men talk about this topic and they talk about how all women, every woman, no woman in the world skips this. And I just laugh because I know many women, including myself, who did not go through half of what most women talk about that they've gone through.
And some women go through every single thing that gets identified. It's your
Exactly.
body talking to you. And this is a perfect conversation topic for July because it's about building capacity to interact with your own body in this journey, in this divine, a spiritual being having a spiritual physical evolution. That's one of the places where the spiritual evolution steps forward. It really does because we talk about divine beings having a physical experience. Well, there are points that are more spiritually physical. Becoming a man, becoming a woman, um, uh, feeling out your identity, having a child, not having a child, perimenopause, the changing of these are all divine informational sessions with your body, basically.
Exactly. And it's a perfect time, just like Kitty's saying, this July energy carries that seven vibrations. Seven is really about going within and exploring who you are without all the outside noise. So
Yeah.
rather than listening to all the people talk about their experience, sit back and ask yourself, well, what's my experience with this? Again, no matter what chapter you're in, if you're that young girl that's just getting her moon cycle, journal it. Journal every experience. I only wish that the information I know now, I knew when I was that young, getting my moon cycle, and the concept of the understanding of what that all really meant, and the beauty of what a moon cycle really is, and not to be um, I think the stigma behind the moon cycle is that it's here, and can't wait for it to be gone. But yet there's always a moment in time for most women that they have that one time in their life or multiple times in their life that they're very excited to see it when it is here, but then they're wishing it to go once it's there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this energy that we're moving into with all of our in this 7 month period where we've experienced all these different changes happening with our outer planets, and then of course what's been going on with our closer planets, and all of it. I mean, if we were to draw the dots to everything, we'll bring everything together. I mean, I truly believe everything really comes back to the physical body. We have Mars in Virgo. I mean, Virgo is really about
The
becoming
systems
more
of our
organized.
body. Yeah.
Becoming more organized with our body, making time for us, making time to connect with the physical body. Venus, connect with the physical body. Taurus, connect with the physical body. Libra, bringing things back into the physical body. And this whole concept with Uranus and Gemini, recentering your nervous system. And that's a biggie for everybody because our
And
nervous system is overloaded.
well, and Gemini is the only air energy of personal thought energy, reprogramming that energy, bringing it back into the reality you create. So we've only got 10 minutes for cards.
Yes.
Let's pull some cards. So I'm going to
Yes.
pull two cards for July's energy and then a clarifying card because they already told me I'm going to need a clarifying card. Oh my God, this is the card that got left.
And it's
Um,
showing up again.
yep, time to smudge, time to clear, time to clear, time to clear, time to smudge.
So before Kitty goes further on that, for those of you who didn't see our last live together, this was the card that Kitty travels a lot. She relocates, and this was a card that was left behind, and she picked it up when she came back to where she is. And this was the card that showed up at our last live. Smudging is so important, especially when we are in this energy of things shifting. So if you're not into smudging, there's many ways that you can cleanse the energy. You can just take, like most people do on New Year's, they take pots and they bang them. You don't even have to take pots. Take your hands and clap the energy in the room. And that itself will get the energy to flow. Put music on and let that be the energy to help clear the space. Because this is big energy that we're moving into. We want to move things around. And if you're like me, and you're into moving things around in the space, feng shui wise, this is a perfect time. I would recommend starting off slow and small before going big with moving things around in your space. And I recommend not moving more than 21 things over a 30-day period. And then wait 30 days after you move those 21 things before you start to move something else. The number 21, it works out to be again that three, which is the energy of Mercury and Gemini of what will you experience during this transitioning of moving things around, because we want to be aware of what changes take place as you're moving the 21 items around.
Well, it was interesting because what came with it was crystal energy, but it was in reverse. This deck doesn't really have a reverse, but to me, crystal energy in reverse, which is amplify your intention, is more about not so much amplify outside of you, focus inside of you, what your intentions are. And the one that flew out was can't make this stuff up. Breathe, pause, and breathe. So, really, that amplification of that crystal energy that is what your intentions are, that crystalline understanding. What are really my intentions of? And then of course, it's all under let's clear it. That keeps coming up. So clearing we do. What are you going
I,
to get?
I find it very interesting because again, one just like with Kitty, the card that showed up on our last reading, she received. And one of the three cards that I just pulled, and I'm going to talk about that one first. We got this one on the last live as well, which was spiritual career, 7-7, and that's exactly the 7-7 portal. And when we speak of spiritual career, it doesn't mean you have to shift into becoming a healer or an acupuncturist. It really is just something that you enjoy doing, that if you were told you would never be paid for it again, you would still want to do it because it's something that brings you joy. The color is the throat energy. So it really is about this is your time to learn how to communicate, learn how to express, learn how to share. And that 7-7 is our 5 vibration, which interesting enough is where Mercury in the retrograde in Leo is and carries that 5 energy, which is about what changes will you be undergoing during this 7 month of July, and how the 7-7 portal is going to portal you to that next level. So that's the first card. Well, that's actually the third card that showed up, and I want to say first. The first card that showed up, which I think is so perfect, throughout everything that we will be experiencing in the month of July and what we've been experiencing up until now, the message that we have to remind ourselves is self-love. We have to take on self-love. So, for example, and this comes into the nourishment of feeding and fueling your body. So, for example, if you are, we'll use the word craving, not really one of my favorite words, but craving something sweet. Metaphysically, what that message is that you're craving love. So, and it's not so much about love from somebody else as much as about how can you love you. So, yes, you can definitely have that sweet food, but what really needs to be taking place in reference to healing the craving is loving yourself. Whatever age it was that maybe you fell out of love for yourself, go back to that age and love on that self. And that's the message we have here. So again, if you are craving, it's about love. The number 7-3 adds to the our 10 energy, which is so interesting because of the full moon we're moving into will be in Capricorn. So this is really about working up to what it is we have to work on, because Capricorn is about the work we're here to do. Our soul's work that we are here to do, what we are moving out of so we can move into something new through this full moon, because full moon is about releasing. So it is definitely powerful, and the color is the root energy. So it is about getting grounded so you can allow yourself to become more aware and awakened and attuned to all that's coming through. So I love that. And our third card, and then of course I'm going to add the numbers in a minute, compassion. Very important to have compassion for yourself and others during this time. Not just during this time, but always. Because you just never know what someone is going through. And we don't need to know what someone is going through to be compassionate to them. We don't need to know their story. Just learn to be kind and compassionate to everyone, including yourself. The number 4-9, that 4 energy, so perfectly aligned with our moon and bringing things back into balance. And also the 4 represents our April energy, which is a part of Aries. And the color third eye, which is what we talked about as well, this Kundalini journey that we're going on to open up our third eye so we can explore our higher wisdom that we came to explore. So I love the cards. And now we have, let's see, we have 4, we have 5, so our 9 energy. And then we have our 10, which is our 1. So 9 and 1 is our 10 energy. So we're back to our 10, the work we are here to do. Is what
Wow.
this is really all about.
And
Moving
this is the
the
month to build the capacity. It really, really is. Self-love and compassion, compassion for yourself as well. Start there. As a matter of fact, it's very hard to have compassion for other people if you don't have compassion for your own self
Yes,
to
it's
begin with.
very
So
important to
this
move into this.
this is fun. Um, busy, busy time. Compassion, self-love. Clear your energy. You know, it's a good time to be kind, maybe do some volunteering, get a really good idea of what it is other people are without the judgment, just with the compassion, you know.
And really important because we are in the 7 months and this is about going within. Go and get yourself a beautiful journal, whether you want to just get a notebook or a journal, and start journaling. Start journaling the experience from now. I'm going to say from now through the end of the year. Start journaling your experience to see how you unravel this new version of who you are becoming, this higher frequency of who you are becoming. Now that we're going to have Uranus and Gemini, Neptune and Saturn in Aries, and Jupiter in good old Cancer. Pluto, oh my God, Pluto in Aquarius, helping us to see the bigger vision. What vision do you hold for yourself? And that might be something you might want to write about is the vision you hold for yourself. What does that look like? And the intention behind that vision so you can live that vision out to have it become your reality.
Right.
So
Very much.
this is a busy month, a lot of moving pieces, and from what I've been told with Gemini's energy and Uranus, it's fast. And with Uranus and Taurus, it was like a turtle. Now it's time to put your sneakers on. Now it's time to get moving because
Well,
you're gonna
yeah, it's and we have this is going to be a really good time to come to understanding relationship, energetic, interaction with technology because it's going to go very fast in that understanding as well. So, all right, Joanne, onward and upward.
yes, we are very nice. So for those who are gonna be watching this, if you have questions, if you want to reach out to either Kitty and I, please do. You can find us on Facebook. We're there. Well, I'm there. I don't know if Kitty's gotten herself back on track with Facebook lately.
No, under storytelling astrologist, you can find me, or you can write intuition, well, storytelling astrologist at gmail.com, all one word, if
Yes,
you're interested in having more discussions about your chart.
yes. And Kitty and I are going to be doing this more frequently. And this is I'm going to chat with her a little bit about later, where she and I will get back online to really start sharing what's going to be going on because we both want you to be in the know so you can navigate to the next step and what it is you're going to be doing.
Well, and I truly believe that as we align ourselves, we create greater alignment for each other and that energy for others to tap into. And as we know, we've got people spiring. This is air and fire. So there's a lot of sparking going on right now. And that's not going away anytime soon, that sparking. But let's send the spark and the thoughts where we want them to go. So
Exactly. Awesome. Awesome. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
that was good.
Now, before we go further, it still says we're live somewhere. So I need to see where we're live.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea where we're live. Interesting.
Well, let's just get out of this.
Yes.
Okay. Bye.